Welcome to Streaming Wars. I'm Chelsea Schwartz.
I'm Yael Teagle.
And this is the show that helps you wade through the endless sea of streaming content because there is so much, it is overwhelming at all times, and that's why we're here.
Absolutely.
So, last week, Amazon Prime Video won, which was a huge shock to me and Sarah because you weren't here, Yael, but mainly I think because of the anticipation for Coming to America, which did not disappoint. I really hope everybody has watched that. But before we get into it, where do you think this week's going to go? And where did you spend the most time this week? What service?
I spent a lot of time on Hulu this week. Usually that means that I'm watching SVU reruns, but actually what it means this time is I'm rewatching 12 Monkeys, which was a great sci-fi show. And if you like time travel, I plug this show and I think you should watch it. So I'm going to give Hulu 10 points for having the entire series of 12 Monkeys and letting me relive this magic. And I kind of have a feeling they're going to win this week, which would be a surprise. What about you?
It would be a surprise. We actually haven't talked about Hulu much, and they actually are finally starting to really put some fun stuff out there. I've got a tie between two platforms. I spent a lot of time on Hulu catching up on linear TV. Like I forgot that ABC, CBS, Fox also still have shows. And so I've been catching up on the new slate of things. And then I spent a lot of time on Paramount Plus because this library that they launched with was really exciting for me. So I'm going to give 5 points to both of them.
Wow. I like how we're starting off strong today.
Definitely. All right. So let's get into it. On Disney Plus, National Geographic put out a documentary called Own the Room just a couple days ago. And when I first heard about this show, I thought it was going to be a series, not one film. And I thought it was going to be a set of stories that we followed these young entrepreneurs as they create these amazing, like some of the ideas and the technology behind the ideas and the things that these people are doing to better their environments around them is incredible. It was really inspiring, but I thought we were going to get like a dedicated episode about each person. And then it just ended up being a 90-minute documentary that was more about the final competition. They're doing pitch competitions to get funding and who is going to win the final competition, which, spoiler alert, none of the 6 win. It's somebody else altogether. None of the main 6 that they focus on. You do get bits and pieces of some of the other contestants, but it was very interesting. I definitely would have liked to know more. Like the little 10 minutes that we got with each person wasn't enough for me. There was also a very big race conversation that popped up as one of the contestants flew into China and then immediately got deported and couldn't participate, and they had to figure out how to get him back into the country. And they kind of just dropped the ball on finishing that conversation too. So it's an interesting it's kind of just like meh in terms of like taking a stand on anything from Nat Geo, but still worth a watch. It's interesting. It's different. I'm going to give it 4 points on Disney Plus.
That's so kind of you.
Yeah.
Over on Netflix, we have this new series called Waffles and Mochi, which I really enjoyed and think is a great series for children. It kind of reminds me of quality classic Sesame Street. I say classic because I don't know what Sesame Street is doing currently. So I can't speak to current Sesame Street, but classic Sesame Street.
I can speak on both of those points, and I've seen current Sesame Street. I'm not the demographic for it. So I agree, classic Sesame Street, but also Waffles and Mochi was also built for children and me. I really enjoyed Waffles and I was learning things about food and was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah, I also think Michelle Obama does a pretty great job as the lead of the show, other than Waffles and Mochi.
The owner of the grocery store.
Yeah.
I also think this is a good step for her in her Let's Move campaign. Like that is encouraging more of a healthy lifestyle for children. This is a really wonderful step away from the role of First Lady, but continuing her message.
Absolutely. I think 6 points to Netflix for making what I think is the next type of Sesame Street series.
You know, I'm going to give it another 5 points because Waffles and Mochi are the most adorable little puppets I've ever seen. I'm digging the pastel coloring. Also, that magic cart, can I have one, please? All right, that brings us to a big discussion that I know we've been looking forward to and some of our audience has been looking forward to. All of WandaVision is now available, and it's finally time to talk about it. We decided not to talk weekly because we thought it would be more beneficial if we just talked about the series as a whole. So, Yael, what did you think of WandaVision?
I absolutely loved it. And I think that we did the right thing not talking about it each week, specifically because I think if you watched each week and then went to the internet for theories and speculation and TikToks about Easter eggs, I think you shot yourself in the foot, because I did this and I think that it really detracted from the series. Whereas if you sat down and watched this show and just absorbed what it told you rather than trying to figure out what you think is going to happen, you would enjoy it so much more. And it was well done. It was beautiful. It was a great story. I was not let down in the least. I give Disney Plus 10 points for WandaVision.
Okay, all right. I will say that I loved the week-to-week approach of building the suspense and having a week to bond with people over what we thought was happening. I actually enjoyed going down some of the rabbit holes. Like, I agree that some of the fan theories and things, it probably added to frustration at the end for me, but I have two things that really irritated me with how it wrapped up. And if you haven't watched WandaVision yet, spoiler alert now. When we had Pietro, I thought this was a great place for Marvel to really show the multiverse. And we got a glimpse at it with the last Spider-Man movie, but like this could have been a great place to not just show the multiverse, but acknowledge all the Fox films as canon and then move on from them into something new. And then they just threw it away. And that irritated the crap out of me. Also, White Vision, what happened at the end? Where did he go? Why was there no even just 15-second setup of what will become of him in the future? Why did we have to have Wanda suffer losing Vision again when there's a version of Vision that remembers her still alive? Like, how did this other created Vision not go, oh, by the way, you know, like there was just a little bit more there, like another 10, 15 seconds to acknowledge that, and I would have been happy. But other than that, loved the show. I think everything else about it was just phenomenal. So I will give it 7 points.
Very kind of you.
All right. Paramount Plus is launched. We talked a little bit before launch because we didn't know what was going on, but now it's here. Let's talk about Paramount Plus. I'm really excited. It launched with a library that I was not expecting. I knew Paramount has a great library, but I wasn't sure what we were going to get. And this is only the beginning, because later this spring, they're really going to ramp up this library. But right now you've got Taxi and The Odd Couple and Family Ties and Brady Bunch. And it feels like Nick at Night. I feel like I finally have a place I can watch Nick at Night, which makes me very happy. And then all the MTV like animations, Beavis and Butthead and Daria, like they're all there, which was, I didn't even think about it in existence, and then was like extra happy. Movies, Up in Smoke, Crocodile Dundee, The Godfather, Tommy Boy, like Clue, like really great library. Really excited for that. And then additionally, right after they launched, there was a whole slate of originals, and a lot of them are just like reimagined reboots, or they're continuations, but from like much further generations down. So you've got like Fatal Attraction, Flashdance, The In-Between, which will be a film. The other two were series. The Italian Job will also be a series, and this is starting with like 3 generations have passed. Love Story is a series adaptation from the film, which is coming out to us from Josh Schwartz, who I love. He's done The OC and Gossip Girl and so many things that I've loved. So I'm really excited about the originals to come. But I do believe that Junior, our producer, had something to say about Paramount Plus.
Yes. So, if you're a fan of the real world and the challenge, then Paramount Plus is for you. It's got 25 seasons of the real world. Do you want to know how CT came into existence? Wes, Johnny Bananas, all of them? Well, Paramount Plus has that covered. But for some reason, it's missing 4 seasons, which I don't get, because there's some pretty good seasons that they're skipping, but whatever. Besides that, it's got The Challenge, which I'm obsessed with, and the real world. What else do you need? I'm sold.
All right, so apparently there has been 25 seasons of The Real World, which I did not know until now. And the 4 best seasons apparently are not yet on Paramount Plus. Maybe that's still to come. But for Junior, I'll take 2 points away from Paramount Plus for missing his favorite seasons. But for this library and everything else of how you've launched, and I'm going to mention it every time, the upcoming Frasier series of bringing Frasier back, 7 points to Paramount Plus.
I'll give him another 3 for that Frasier series because I know how excited you are.
My heart. All right, let's talk about some of the fun happening on Hulu, starting with Staged. Now, at the beginning of this pandemic, when our industry shut down, Michael Sheen and David Tennant had this idea, along with some other great people that are involved in the series, to do a series over Zoom of what it's like for all of us right now as we're adapting to this new situation. A lot of people had Zoom burnout last year. A lot of people started to do this, but it was never, I felt like, done well, with the exception of Josh Gad's Reunited Apart. That was fantastic on YouTube. So season 1 was on the BBC, and now Hulu has released season 1 on Hulu. It's currently there right now. You can go watch season 1. And maybe it's a British comedy thing, but I love British comedy. So if you don't, this might not be your cup of tea. It had me in stitches. Like, I related to every second of this as an actor who went through this pandemic. And I think people that aren't actors will also find a lot of relatable moments to it. But season 2 is coming to us on March 16th. And it is equally, if not better, than season 1, I think. It has even more, like, season 1's got Samuel L. Jackson. Like, if I haven't sold you on David Tennant and Michael Sheen alone and their fun, like, bromance, which if you've not seen Good Omens, go watch that as well. But Samuel L. Jackson, do I need to say anything else? Season 2, we're going to add, like, Ben Schwartz, Josh Gad, Jim Parsons, and a whole bunch more. 10 points to Hulu.
Wow. I loved Staged. Honestly, you've heard me on this show say how anytime something is about what we're currently going through, it's too soon. This is the exception to that. The first season was so perfectly done in that it had the right humor, it had stuff we could all relate to, and it had some heart in it that was a surprise to me. I was not expecting anything more serious than what it was, and they did it so beautifully. So season 2, I've been waiting for this since it released in the UK. I'm really so grateful to Hulu for being like, yep, we're going to pick it up back. You can have it back. Here you go. So yeah, I'm going to give another 8 points to Hulu right there.
So good. It's like, I can't emphasize how good this show is. Like, I haven't laughed that hard in a long time. Moving on to something else that also just made me really happy. Raya and the Last Dragon is available on Disney Plus through Premier Access, which means you have to pay an extra $30. And if you were with us several months ago, we talked about Mulan and was it worth it for $30? I was very much in the place of, like, if you really need to see Mulan and you've been waiting forever, spend the $30. For Raya and the Last Dragon, I'm going to tell you, do not wait. Support this movie right now. First of all, you're supporting animators who had to create this film from their home. And like, they finished this film from home during the pandemic. Do you know how hard that is to move your entire studio into your home and then collaborate together on an animated project? And let's not forget that how much it costs films in general to make. Like, people are complaining that this should have been free on Disney Plus. They need to recoup some money. It's okay. It's still a business at the end of the day. But then representation matters. And this film really represents the Southeast Asian culture beautifully. It's a mashup of a bunch of different stories, and we should eventually get more individualized stories from this community. But for now, we need to show that there's a market for these stories, and you can show that by purchase power. So I'm telling you right now, spend the $30. It's really, if I went to the movies by myself and I bought popcorn and a drink, I would spend more than $30 going to the movies. This is worth it. And if I haven't sold you on that, just look how cute Tuk Tuk is.
I will say, Raya and the Last Dragon is fantastic. I really wish it wasn't an extra $30, but it's great. It is hands down fantastic. I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want to ruin it for you, but I'm giving 10 points to Disney Plus for Raya and the Last Dragon. And I understand that $30 is steep. I agree. But if you are multiple people in your household, if you have children, spend the $30. I also will say, I'm going to take away 2 points because $30 is steep, but it's great.
I
It's
understand
really
that
great.
we're still going through a pandemic and it's hard to like want to spend that money right now. But I also feel like this film is that bundle of joy that we need to motivate us right now too. So if you have the $30, I do encourage it. I also need to give it, I'm giving it 10 points as well on Disney Plus, but I'm going to give it an extra 5 points because Tuk Tuk, which thank you Disney for sending me this Tuk Tuk, because I immediately watched the film. 4 minutes into the film, I paused it and called a friend and said, Tuk Tuk is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then I got this in the mail and I was so excited. But Tuk Tuk is voiced by Alan Tudyk. Alan Tudyk seems to be in this challenge with Disney where they're like, what strange voice can we make Alan Tudyk do next? So he was a screaming chicken in Moana, and now he's Tuk Tuk, who literally just grumbles. Like he's getting paid a handsome salary to be part of this Disney legacy to make weird noises, and kudos for that.
Speaking of kudos, let's head over to Netflix and their new film, Moxie. I will say that if I were 14, I would be obsessed with this movie. It speaks to teenage Yael so strongly.
It
So
speaks to 38-year-old Chelsea. Are you kidding me? It works for right now.
I'm giving it 8 points to Netflix for Moxie. That said, 30-something-year-old Yael sees a lot of plot holes and is taking 2 points away because I couldn't not see them. There's a scene where two characters kiss and you go, wait, have they spoken to each other at all in this movie? Why did we do that? So,
because love at first sight, you've got to be a little bit more romantic, Yael. No, I'm right there with you. There's definitely plot holes. It's a classic teen movie in that sense. I was like, but I do feel like this is going to spark a good conversation amongst our youth. And I'm really here for it. Like if this generates more of those female power fanzines, if you will, just the zines of my youth, I would love to see that come back. I would love to see people using their mind to think outside the norm and break barriers. And for that, I'm giving this 7 points.
I also, I want to give 5 points to the author of the book Moxie, because now I want to read the book and see if it's full of, like, the plot holes are filled in the book.
I hope for your sake that they are, and that you don't read it and then continue to be disappointed by plot holes. Speaking of things that are slightly disappointing, Kid90 is out on Hulu. This is the journey of Soleil Moon Frye, Punky Brewster. She was also in Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Her life growing up in the 90s and being a child star. So she was friends with all of the other child stars you remember from the 90s, from Breckin Meyer to Brian Austin Green, Jonathan Brandis, Charlie Sheen, like everybody, you see everyone. Literally my entire youth in a documentary. But what I was not prepared for was how emotionally heavy this documentary was going to be. I thought this was going to be sort of a fun, remember my youth moment. And for me, I was bawling, like tears, like heavy sobs, was not okay for about an hour after I watched it. So if you're one of those people that gets emotionally set off easily, go into this knowing that, prepare yourself. I don't think it's a bad documentary at all. I just was not expecting what I got out of it. And with that said, specifically related to suicide and Jonathan Brandis, those were points for me growing up that were just triggers I didn't really need last night. But it's still a great story. What did you think, Yael?
I really loved the idea. Yes, it was heavy and emotional, but I'm still wrapping my head around the fact that Soleil Moon Frye had a camcorder and recorded all of this in a time pre-phone, pre-YouTube, pre-TikTok, and the idea that they recorded all this just for themselves, and she turned into this documentary, which is amazing, because without it, I feel like we wouldn't know most of these stories.
And it's also amazing because they say it in the documentary that nowadays you're used to having a camera everywhere in your face, and so we're always on. These people weren't on. This was candid footage of me hanging out with my friends kind of thing, and that was an intimate experience and a nice little nugget, if you will.
Yeah, I'm giving 6 points to Hulu for taking this and giving it to the world.
I'm taking 2 points away for making me cry and making me go down a journey all about Jonathan Brandis again, because that was a big thing for me growing up. And when he committed suicide in 2003, I had a really hard time with it. I did discover in my post experience of this film, as I processed it, that when I moved to West Hollywood, I apparently moved less than a mile from where Jonathan Brandis committed suicide. So that was an interesting thing to learn. So 1 point for knowledge.
I like that. Education is important.
Right? It's interesting. More happy conversations. Coming to America, the movie we were so excited for, was the #1 streamed movie of its opening weekend, and also had the best opening weekend of any streaming movie in 2021, and had the #1 opening weekend of any streaming movie in the last 12 months. Woo! Yeah, go Zamunda. Which speaking of going Zamunda, we're just, for the rest of the show. Yeah, there we go. Zamunda all the way.
I'm going to give Amazon 3 points. Congrats.
Yeah, I'm going to give another 5 points to Coming to America for everything. This film gave me all I wanted, and I hope that we do get a third story. I know Eddie has one in mind. We'll see what happens with that. And also, part of those points are just because they gave me Soul Glow, and it's the product I never knew that I needed in my life, and it made me so happy.
Look, we can be bought, apparently.
No, I will not bow down to sponsors of any kind. Speaking of sponsors, Disney Plus crossed 100 million subscribers this week. That is a huge milestone for Disney, and congratulations. Another 3 points to Disney Plus for that.
Absolutely. I'm going to take away 1 point because those subscribers don't automatically get to see Raya and the Last Dragon.
You were really bitter about that right now.
Yes, everyone needs to see it.
Everyone does need to see it, but I do believe in purchase power as well. And in 4 months, I'm sure it'll be on Disney Plus for free, and then everyone can see it then as well. But in the meantime, let's if these studios, maybe this is because it's my industry and it's my job, if these studios don't start making money, there was not going to be any studios left. So they're like, if we want entertainment, we're going to have to put our money where our mouth is. That's the phrase, right?
That is the phrase.
There we go. I did a thing. All right.
All right, guys, hold up. You forgot the best news of the week.
What,
and that's the WWE Network is going to Peacock. Okay. Now, they already talked about this around a month ago. There was an announcement, but there's some more details about this that we found out on Monday. Okay. So basically, a few of the changes have been made to the original terms announced to fans. Firstly, WWE Network accounts will not be migrated to Peacock. Instead, fans will have to create their own Peacock accounts, which they can do at a discount right now, okay? This is what I don't like about it. So the first pay-per-view is next week, or this week, Fastlane. WrestleMania and Fastlane will both be on it, but then a lot of the stuff that's in the library now on the network is not going to be on Peacock until September. So thousands of hours of like back catalog that we usually can just see now, we have to wait. So only like the pay-per-views from the last year and the shows from the last year are going to be on the network or on Peacock until September, which is annoying. But other than that, we're going to have WWE Network on Peacock. You can't go wrong with that.
So it's a very slow migration,
yeah,
is what you're saying.
But it's like there's so much catalog that it's kind of infuriating because it's like we can just look at it and go back 20 years, you know what I mean, whenever we want, or 30 years. But now we have to wait. And Peacock even announced that they didn't know when they were going to update the whole system to include everything, which is annoying. So, but at least we'll have a discount. So that's kind of cool.
5 points for discounts.
Yeah, and you know
and
what?
a negative 3 points for making Junior wait.
Yeah, negative 20 points, Peacock.
Oh!
Not cool.
Sorry, Peacock.
Well,
Bye.
thanks for letting us know, Junior.
You're welcome. All right, guys. Bye.
Yes. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's show. It is time to announce the winner. Who will it be? Woo!
Disney Plus is the winner. I am a little surprised, but not that surprised. It's Disney. That makes sense. Also, congratulations to Hulu, who I thought was going to take the lead, but is second place. I think
really thought Hulu was going to take this. So I'm shocked. But you know what? WandaVision and Tuk Tuk for the win, you know? Not to mention, like, coming up on Disney Plus, like maybe we were exuding some of that energy because Falcon and Winter Soldier is almost here and the Mighty Ducks series. So congratulations, Disney Plus. Hulu, you made it to second though. Like, it's almost your turn. You'll get there. I have faith in you.
You're also number one in my heart this week. So.
All right. This week's episode left us on our edge of our seat the entire time. I did not see Disney Plus winning. But thank you for joining us this week here on Streaming Wars. Make sure you like and subscribe to that hashtag show on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Quibi, whatever, who else has a service, everything. Everywhere you can find that hashtag show, you better like and subscribe. Do it. Until next time, guys.